Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel before we get started. And today we have to talk about Donald Trump and how his election chances are improving in the 2020 election. We are approximately 15 days away from the actual election day. It's going to be great. We're going to have a stream. It's going to go very well, hopefully. And we're going to analyze what's happening in terms of the betting odds because Donald Trump was down. He was at 32, 33%. And now in the RCP aggregate for the betting odds, Donald Trump is now close to 40%. He has gained a significant amount in the betting odds. And a lot of that has to do with Republicans overperforming expectations and Democrats underperforming expectations when it comes down to the early voting. And on PredictIt here, Florida and North Carolina, for the first time in around a month, have flipped back into the Republican column. He's gained 6 points in North Carolina today, and he has gained a little bit in the state of Florida as well. Florida and North Carolina both are red. A lot of that has to do with the early voting for the Democrats. And a lot of people, Democrats on Twitter in the Election Mafia, were very, very somber. They were very sad because the data really wasn't there where they wanted to be. I saw a couple people on there that specifically said, we don't have to worry about Florida. Let's focus on Pennsylvania. Let's focus on Michigan, Wisconsin, trying to win back the blue wall, which is hilarious because apparently that is where their mindset is. And the Biden campaign is sharing that same mindset when you have actual data that comes in that contradicts their narrative. They have to go, they have to run, they have to cry and hide in a corner because now it's looking very, very differently for them in the Sun Belt than it was before. You look at Biden's polling lead in Florida going from 9% or so over the summer. Now Biden leads by 1.4%. North Carolina, the lead slipping a little bit. Pennsylvania, Biden's lead has been cut in half in around a week. It went from nearly Biden +8. Now it's under Biden +4. It's almost reaching 2016 territory or 2018 polling error territory, which is a very, very good sign for President Trump. And Arizona as well has slipped for Biden. He was at 60% in PredictIt. Now he is at 57% as Donald Trump is going to Florida right around the same time the Barris poll came out that has Donald Trump ahead of Joe Biden by 5 to 7%. He's reaching 50% in the state. Biden is struggling to crack 44%. Absolutely hilarious for Biden. His potential implosion could be on the way, at least in the Sun Belt. That means Donald Trump has a much better chance at holding the 260 electoral vote firewall. And you can see this here as more early voting returns coming out of Florida, more early voting returns coming out of North Carolina. And even though a lot more Democrats are choosing to vote by mail, the margins are not where the Democrats need them to be for victory in this election cycle. And so here we go. Here is the update out of Florida, the vote by mail and in-person early voting statistics for today. Right now, the Republicans, in terms of the vote by mail, are just 5 points behind the Democrats. Now, keep in mind, some areas of the state of Florida do typically like to count the in-person early voting as absentee ballots by mail, depending on how the ballots are dropped off. But in this case, Republicans are doing fairly well. Democrats only have gained 6,000 in terms of the total vote by mail so far this cycle. And in terms of the in-person voting, Republicans, as I had expected, are outperforming Democrats in person. And yes, there are a lot of people who are non-party affiliated. However, a lot of the right-leaning independents will be choosing to vote in person. So either way, it is likely that Trump has a lead based off of the in-person vote. Overall, Democrats have a lead in the state of Florida. However, it is nowhere near their 750,000 to a million vote lead they are going to need to be able to have a good chance at winning the state of Florida come election day, because roughly 40% of the state is going to vote on election day, and around 2/3 of that or more are going to go for Donald Trump. So they need a significant lead. Right now, they exactly don't have one. They don't even have 50%. And in-person voting has just started. It will go from today until I believe roughly around a couple days before the election or so. And in total for today, Republicans and Democrats are in a dead statistical heat. Now, do keep in mind that 15 Republican counties have not even started early voting yet. However, Miami-Dade County has not reported their results yet, so I would assume it would kind of be a total wash from what it is now. Democrats will gain more out of Miami-Dade County. However, Republicans will obviously gain in those 15 Republican counties that have not started their early voting yet. So either way, a very good showing for Republicans, and showing in the betting odds here out of the state of Florida, comparing this to last cycle out of the state of Florida. In terms of the early vote here, Republicans are not doing that poorly compared to last cycle. This is done by registered party in Florida. Florida does track party registration. Democrats submitted nearly half of the ballots. That was expected. If anything, they should be much higher than that. Republicans have submitted 30% of the ballots, and independents have submitted roughly 20%. They're probably going to go a little bit more for the Democrats because they have voted mainly by mail so far. However, Election Day, unaffiliated voters will overwhelmingly break for Donald Trump as expected. But people forget last cycle Democrats did have roughly a 5% lead. This time, Democrats have a 19% lead, even though a lot more Democrats are voting by mail. So as you can see, that's not really where they need to be. In terms of modeled party here, Republicans were down 8 last cycle. Democrats now have a 14-point lead, so not really much change in the Target Smart data from last cycle to this cycle, even though I do have some grievances with Target Smart data. Either way, it looks fairly good for Republicans out of the state of Florida, especially taking into consideration that a lot of Republicans are going to be voting on Election Day. You can also compare it to last cycle in terms of the early vote. Republicans doing much, much better in nearly every single county over last cycle in terms of the in-person early vote. Duval County was an exception. However, Duval County had a much bigger lead for Democrats at the start of the day that has narrowed. Similar thing going on with a couple of these other counties. But either way, it's looking very, very good in terms of vote by mail for Republicans compared to 2016, especially in these Republican strongholds like Lee County, Collier County. These were places Donald Trump did not even do as good as past Republicans. And if you look at this, Collier County had a big swing to the left in 2016 on the New York Times map here. However, DeSantis did better in Collier County than Trump did in 2018. A lot of people are expecting Trump to improve in Collier County, improve in Lee County with some of these more traditionally Republican areas, getting those traditionally Republican voters on board. Maybe they voted for Rubio and DeSantis, but Donald Trump could easily win them this cycle against Joe Biden. Those are the voters that Trump is trying to add to his base, and he has done a good job of doing that so far. That's why Republicans did so well in the midterms, and he is hoping that that will allow him to carry the state of Florida by more than he did last time, which is a real possibility. Now we can also look at the early voting data out of North Carolina, because that is another key component of his 248 firewall that he needs to hold. I did a video more recently on Arizona, but he is doing very well in terms of the absentee ballots in Arizona, which also registers by party. North Carolina by modeled party here is showing Republicans with a similar deficit to where they were at in 2016. This is a very good sign for Republicans, especially because in-person early voting is getting underway there as well. And you can look at this by registered party. Again, Democrats do have an advantage over last cycle that is expected, as more Democrats will be voting by mail. But North Carolina is a state where Donald Trump does have room to potentially improve. And if you want to look at the state of North Carolina here on the 2016 map and look where Donald Trump improved over Mitt Romney, it was nearly everywhere in the rural part of the state. He did much better in the rural part of the state. He also did much better in the county surrounding the Wilmington area, as well as in Cumberland County, where Fayetteville is. Donald Trump made gains over Mitt Romney. That is how he won the state. He did lose some votes in Mecklenburg County. He did lose some votes in Greensboro and Winston-Salem, as well as Wake County in the Raleigh-Durham area. But as a whole, Donald Trump did very well in the state of North Carolina. He's going to have to do well there again if he wants to win this election. He's going to have to run up the margins in the rural counties, and there's really been no evidence that would say that he hasn't been doing that so far. You look at the special election that happened in North Carolina's 3rd in 2019, the Republican actually overperformed Donald Trump. Those are the places where he can continue to make gains this cycle. And also minority turnout. High minority turnout is necessary for Joe Biden to win the state of North Carolina. But there hasn't really been that many indications that minority turnout will increase this cycle. If you look at the primary turnout data for the Democrats, the proportion of the North Carolinian electorate that was black fell several percentage points from 2016. And 2016, black turnout was down compared to 2012. This cycle, it may continue to plummet even more, and that's going to be a very big problem for Democrats if they want to hold the state of North Carolina. You do have a lot of white transplants that are moving from places like Michigan, Wisconsin, and they are kind of voting more Democrat. However, they're not really voting Democrat by that much to change the election, especially when black turnout is down. The key part of the Democrat base in North Carolina is black turnout. Obama did very, very, very well in terms of galvanizing black support in 2008. In 2016, Donald Trump did well galvanizing the rural turnout. If he's able to do so again, and he's gone down there and he's done several rallies, it's probably going to go in Trump's column. The early vote data looks fairly good for Republicans, as well as the fact that the polls historically in North Carolina tend to underpoll Republicans. You could look at 2016, the 2016 Senate race, the 2019 special election, the 2018 competitive races in North Carolina, as well as the abysmal polling miss in 2014, where Thom Tillis only led one poll, and it was a Republican internal poll, and he ended up winning the state of North Carolina. So overall, North Carolina and Florida looking fairly good for Trump, and Donald Trump is also improving in Arizona. Donald Trump is doing a rally today in Prescott, which is where Yavapai County is, which is where his base in Arizona is. If he gets the turnout up there, which the early vote suggests he's already doing a good job of, he could technically lose Maricopa County and still end up winning the state by 1 to 2 points, depending on how close the margin is in Maricopa County. Even though there's many indications that he will hold Maricopa County, Trump is also making gains in places like Texas in terms of the betting odds. He's making gains in places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, as well as Wisconsin. And if Donald Trump gets this current map, assuming he holds Maine second and Nebraska second, he wins the state of Arizona, which is looking more favorable to him, and he pulls off either a win in Wisconsin or Michigan or Pennsylvania or Minnesota, which would be harder to do, he will be reelected president of the United States, but he needs to keep pushing. He needs to keep doing his rallies. He needs to keep getting his base out to vote. And so far in the early vote, Republicans are doing better than expected, and some Democrats are worrying. They're retreating. They're focusing back on Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. But we'll really see if they're going to be able to buck the trend in those states in order to pull out those states to win the election. Either way, it's going to go down the wire, but Donald Trump is in much better shape than a lot of the national pundits are telling you. That's what they don't want you to know, but that's exactly what's going on. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media, become a member, donate to the Patreon, or subscribe. Star links in description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.